Guess who's back? Back again. The Film Grinders are back. Tell a friend. How you guys doing? We're back here on the Film Grinders podcast. I'm Nicolas Hauka here with David Hollinshead, and today we're going to be going over cornerbacks, Dave's favorite position. I think with this class, all of these guys on this list, and there's 10 of them, I'm doing a top 10. I think all of these guys can be starters. They all have strengths that will propel them in the league to being solid starters. What I did with the list is the further you get up, these are the guys that have the highest upside, because I think it's really close in regards to a lot of these guys. I'd say there's my top 5. I am very adamant in the right situation. These guys could be absolute studs and number 1 corners or 1Bs, maybe not your upper echelon with some of them. And then kind of the bottom 5, there's a couple in there that are just kind of jack of all trades, not a wow guys, but will be solid players, I think. And then you have your aliens who are ridiculous physical specimens that are very raw, and they really need to hone into the technical aspect, which is so important as a corner in the NFL with how good receivers are. So we'll get to that, but that's kind of what I was looking with on my list. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to go number 10, and that is going to be Darian Porter out of Iowa State, standing at 6'4" and 200 pounds. Dave, Darian Porter is the corner that you create in Madden when you're making your dream corner. 6'4", 200 pounds, long arms. And this is a former receiver who just transitioned this year to play defensive back and did a pretty solid job. I think, again, because of that, he's pretty raw in a lot of regards, and I think that's really normal when you make a position switch in anything, obviously, right? So for me, when I was watching his film, I was just looking at the upside. There's a lot of technical stuff he needs work with. When he's in press, for instance, he opens his hips a little bit too early. He has really long arms and is able to disrupt receivers at the line, but then he won't. What you're kind of looking to do once you do that is to keep your body somewhat square and kind of kick at a 45-degree angle to get your body in front of the receiver to impact his release. What he'll do is he'll just turn and run right away. And that inhibits outside releases by receivers and makes your life as a DB harder. So for him, if he can learn how to do that, which is a really easy technical fix, it's just reps and getting those in, I really think he can be an awesome press corner. I talked about the length, right, at 6'4". He's a guy that gets those Richard Sherman breakups and interceptions where it looks like he's beat by a yard or two, but he has such good ball skills, Sherman being a former receiver again. And he'll get his hand on the ball because he has such great length, even though it looks like he's beat, right? So that's kind of the type of corner you're looking at here. Now, I know comparing him to a Hall of Famer is a little bold, and I definitely think he's a step below that, if not 2 or 3. But this is a guy with so much upside, and I just really think with the length and the physical ability at his size, this guy could be a really sneaky pick in round 2 or 3 who could really kind of come into his own and be a really good corner for a long time in the league.
Yeah, I want to like Porter. My issue is that as a Patriots fan, I still have PTSD from us drafting Jawan Williams, who had a very similar kind of skill set size coming out of college. So it scares me. His hip tightness scares me, and he tries to shortcut that, as you kind of said, by opening up too early. But that scares me, right? And what else scares me is that he's going to be an older rookie at 25 in his rookie season, and the fact that he's still learning the position and still needs development. He's probably not hitting his stride until maybe his third season. He's already 27, 28. So are you really going to, when he's looking for that second contract, are you really going to pay a 29-year-old, top market money? No, probably not. You'll probably get him for another 2 years. I think the ceiling on him is kind of Brandon Browner, but the floor of Jawan Williams, it scares me.
For sure. And I agree with a lot of those sentiments. My thing with him is his hips are a lot better than Jawan Williams, right?
Well, it can't be worse.
Yeah, no, it's tough at that size, right? To me, when he opens his hips too early, it's more of just a technical thing. Like as a DB coach, it's at the high school level, obviously, so not even remotely close to the college level, but I've been coaching DBs for almost 10 years now. That's a very common thing that DBs do because they're not patient enough and they think they need to flip right away, when in fact, by kicking and getting in the way of the receiver on his outside release, you're actually giving yourself more time to flip your hip. So it's a thing that needs to be instilled with you. It takes time, right? And so I don't think that's the issue. I do think he has good enough hip flexibility, especially with the length of his arms, to get by. He's also, because of the ball skills, I could see this guy. I don't really love the scheme very much, but in like a Seattle 3 press bail scheme, I could see this guy being really good.
I like that our comps have been Richard Sherman, Brandon Browner, who thrived in that Seattle 3 system. But I agree, that's kind of where this player would fit, right?
Yeah, and his ball skills are exceptional because of him being a former receiver and having that length at 6'4" too. But with what you said with him being 25, yeah, that is a legitimate worry, right? He unfortunately made this position switch at an older age. He's going to be an older rookie, and it's going to take time for him to refine his skill set and be NFL ready, right? And that's why I have him at number 10. I think if he made this earlier in his career, and maybe he's coming in as a 23-year-old, I know that's only a 2-year difference, but I really do think those 2 years make a massive difference in the NFL, especially as you kind of start to lose your athleticism as the older you get, right? Father Time is unbeaten. So we'll see with him.
Go on.
Yeah, Dave knows all about that. So yeah, for me, like there are some worries there with him, but that's why he's at number 10. I think if you take this guy in the 3rd round, you could end up getting a really solid player for 5 to 6 years, and he's just in the league for a while and can really be that physical matchup guy for bigger, taller receivers, right? So that's why he's at 10. If he figures it out sooner, this could be a guy where you go, wow, remember when Darian Porter was taken in the 3rd round and now he's an all-pro, right? Like that could happen, but just because of everything going around him, that's why I have him at number 10.
All right, I like it. Let's move on to number 9.
Number 9, Maxwell, Hairston, Kentucky. He is 6'1", 186 pounds. So Porter's kind of that alien build, right? Moving on to Hairston, slender frame. He's got ideal size at 6'1", right? That's kind of what you're looking for. Gotta like it. With him, though, he's more of your kind of jack of all trades, solid corner, who can be in the league for a long time. He's not that alien build. He doesn't have ridiculous athleticism. It's more than good enough to play in the NFL, don't get me wrong. He's more of a zone corner, which NFL teams value quite a bit because a lot of DCs in this league are very zone-centric, right? So this is a guy that has good recognition in zone. He is a little slender, and he has okay ball skills, but really good zone recognition. He can be a guy that can kind of go to any scheme where you're a zone-heavy team, and he can be very successful on the outside with great route recognition. You can kind of throw him anywhere for a team that prefers to play zone-type coverages as your base. He's okay in man, not really his strong suit. He's passable, but he's definitely not a guy that you want on a talented receiver one-on-one. He's more of that zone guy, but a guy that's more than capable and ready, I think, from day one to start on a roster pretty quickly, right? This guy kind of reminds me of Lassiter from the Texans, who played at Georgia, who had a really good rookie year, better than I actually thought he would. Kamari Lassiter did. So kind of that jack of all trades guy that can come in and start day one from you, and he's a smart DB, and he has great values.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've seen Hairston start creeping up draft boards. I've seen him taken late in the 1st round as of just recently. I like his feel in zone coverage. I like the way that you ask him to spot drop, get back there, just read the QB, read the ball, make a play on the ball. And that's kind of his bread and butter, right? Like I wouldn't be asking him to do press coverage or anything like that. His frame does give me some trepidation, right? Just looking up his combine numbers, he actually measured in at 5'11". So that's even smaller, but with a 4.28 second speed for his 40 time, that's not bad either, right? So he does have some skills that are worth looking at, and he's definitely worth drafting at kind of the 2nd, 3rd round, I think, for me personally. but just his frame, his lack of being able to kind of play press, and that he measured in so small at the combine, these are all things that kind of give me worries. But if you just ask him to kind of drop back, read the play, make plays on the ball, that's kind of where he needs to end up, right?
Yeah, for sure. And NFL teams, they like playing true zone coverages, right? Unless you're in the Fangio system and like the McDonald's system as well. It's really more of a spot drop game. It's pretty old school because of kind of how rosters work and how everyone's in and out. And there's just a constant influx of players. Like DCs like to keep it simple. That's the reality. I don't love it personally, but it is what it is.
Oh, so I know how you feel about spot drops.
Yeah, that could be a whole different episode. But like that's the reality of what the NFL is on defense. So he will always have a spot. And I think this is a guy that you talk about in the future and you go, oh yeah, he's solid, right? He'll be like a solid 2 for you. And if he's on your team, he's a guy that isn't going to be a detriment at all. He's going to be a solid starter. He's not going to be an all-pro. He's not going to be a guy that you put on a number 1 receiver anytime soon, right? So that's kind of what he is. And there is value in that, right? So never have enough corners in today's game, right?
No. Who would be your player comp for him, if I can ask?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Shoot. My comp for him would be Rasul Douglas, kind of a guy that's bounced around the league quite a bit, but you can just plug and play. I do think Rasul Douglas has a little bit better ball skills and is more of a ball hawk, but Hairston showed a little bit of that. But just a guy that can play those zone coverage schemes, is passable enough in man just to kind of play anywhere, and he's just going to be in the league for a long time. I know Douglas had a little bit of a period in his career where he struggled to make rosters and stuff like that, but that's where I kind of see him being, and just a guy that's going to be in the league for a long time.
Sounds good. Alrighty, moving on to number 8.
Number 8, I got Trey Amos out of Old Miss, listed at 6'1", 190 pounds. Amos, again, falls into that kind of jack of all trades, master of none type guy for me. He, unlike Hairston, he's solid in man, right? Like he's a better man corner, very fluid in off coverage, like a great smooth pedal, smooth breaks, reads routes pretty solidly. I don't think he's an elite athlete by any means, but I think he's a very good athlete, good speed. He's been climbing up boards a little bit because of kind of his athleticism and stuff like that. He doesn't wow me as a corner though. So like for me, that's why I have him at number 8 here. I think he's going to be another guy, maybe a step above Hairston, but not too much more. This guy is a solid number 2 for years to come.
Yeah, I'm a little higher on Amos than you, but I mean, that's fair. You're the DB guy, and we can have our opinions. I like how willing and aggressive he is when he tries to get into press. But the thing is, when he does, I found he's too handsy. He gets his hands in there and ends up drawing a lot of flags, which are just absolute backbreakers, with it being a spot of the foul automatic first down type penalty. But I think that these are things that can get coached out of him.
They 100% can. And remember, like, you got to be really careful with that in the NFL because it's called even tighter, right? Like, you really cannot touch a receiver past 5 yards, right? You'll see calls all the time where a DB just literally has his hand on the receiver to guide himself to feel the receiver. He's not even closed hand. He's open hand, not impacting him at all, just feeling him, and they'll get called, right? So you have to be really careful with that. I think it's absolute BS, personally, as a DB coach. But that's the reality, right? So you got to be careful with that. That's got to be coached out of him. I do love the aggressiveness he does have in press, but he does get in trouble with being a little bit too handsy, right? So that needs to be coached out of him. I don't think he has that elite reach and wingspan to be a really good, like, jam at the line press corner. He's going to have to get by with his feet and be kind of more of a soft press corner who occasionally jams you and kind of switches it up here and there, but he's not going to be dominant in that regard. But this is a guy who can play both zone coverages and man at a really solid level, and I see that transitioning to the NFL. I really do. I think he's going to be a really solid 2 for a long time to come once he corrects a couple of those mistakes.
My little comp that I have here is a Carlton Davis type.
I think Carlton Davis, yeah, like that. You know what? That's a really good comp because Davis is able to play press man, but he's not elite in it by any means. Doesn't have the big wingspan. I think honestly, Dave, that's actually a really good comp. You did it better than the DB coach on this guy. That's a good comp.
I can't take full credit. I'm kind of looking it up as I go.
Well, whoever made that comp, that's a good one for sure. We'll move on to here's an alien, number 7 for me. This is a guy that could make my ranking sound really stupid in the future at number 7, but Shavon Revel out of East Carolina, 6'3", 193, very long wingspan, exceptional athlete too for his size. Really kind of wows you when you watch him. He needs a lot of work from a technical perspective. Watching, and he's coming off the ACL injury. He is a really interesting watch. He's a fun watch. I looked at his 2023 film at first, and what they were asking him to do schematically was really weird for the college game. It was hard to kind of evaluate him with what he was asked to do. He's kind of playing field corner. He was playing a lot of like inverted halves in the game I was watching against Ohio State, which is something that NFL defensive coordinators will do, but just because of the wide hashes in the college game, that's not something you should be running, right? So he was hard to evaluate there, but I was able to find some 2024 coaches film of him, and I do really like what I see with him. He is going to be a very good man press corner with his long arms. He also has very fluid hips for his size. He is just the definition of raw at the DB position. He has a lot of work to do. He opens the gate too early. He is a little bit too handsy at times. But I think if he figures that aspect out, this guy can be a superstar. We kind of saw it with Tariq Woolen. I think Revel is better in man coverage than Woolen is because he has way better hips and transition ability. But he does need a lot of work. Also, when he's playing off, he's a really good ball hawk. Like, he reads routes really well. In 2024, they played a little bit more zone match stuff, and he was really good at recognizing routes and kind of drilling down on digs and stuff of that from like 3-match coverages. He has the ability and route recognition, and he's got ball hawk ability too. So this is a guy that I really think could be a star. I just really worry about how raw he is at times. Some of the stuff he does doesn't make sense. He'll be beat by 5 yards, and his makeup speed is so good that he'll go and make a play. But in the NFL game, when quarterbacks are so precise that there's not wide hashes and the ball doesn't take quite as long to get there, that does worry me a little bit. But if he can correct those things, I can see this guy just being a dog.
Yeah, I'd agree with all of that. He certainly knows how to use his length, and he has that raw athleticism. What does worry me is that ACL injury, right? Like, he's only had 1 year of being a productive starter in college. Before that, his last year was kind of taken away from him. And it's not even looking like he'll be back to start and will miss training camp, which is another kind of red flag. When I first started kind of the pre-draft process, I was seeing him as kind of a late first round, early second round pick. And I think we might be, and I haven't seen him in any first rounds very recently, so I think he is starting to fall down the boards. It's funny that you say Tariq Woolen, because that is the comp that I see here, so I think you're right on the money with that one. What worries me about him is kind of the same thing that I kind of touched on with Amos, is that he gets handsy, and I see him panic when he does get beat. I love his aggressiveness, I really do, and I love that in the corner. But then when you start trying to grab and try and make up that way, that's just going to draw you flags. And like we said, the NFL officiating is so much more stingent on stuff like that, or whatever less generous word you want to use. But NFL officiating could be its own episode that I could go on a TED Talk for 2 hours about, because not a fan. So I would just worry about the flags. I'm sure that stuff can get coached out of it, but the fact that he's also missing his first training camp, I with a little trepidation. I'm a little worried about it.
Yeah. I think if Revel hadn't missed his last season in college, most of it, I think this is a guy where you talk about him being that late first round pick or early second, right? But just because of the situation, losing all of that development, plus not being there for camp with a guy that is so raw, yeah, like that's why he's kind of in the position where he is. I think if he can catch up once he gets situated and everything, this could be a guy where you go, we probably should have picked him higher. Mm-hmm.
A day 2 pick at least, yeah.
100%.
And he's pretty young too. He is just turning 23 this year, so he has the time to develop. You have the time to kind of keep him on the bench, maybe give him a red shirt year.
Yeah, no, for sure. But again, that's why he's here, because he's probably not going to be ready to go as a day 1 starter, but he has the upside to, in the future, be very good.
Yeah.
So let's move on to number 6. Number 6 for me is Jahdae Barron, right? So why he is this low for me personally, now before you yell at me, yes, he is one of the best DBs in this class, 100%. I think, though, he is going to be 100% a nickel and a safety at the next level. And I'll tell you why. At those positions, he is incredible. He has amazing hip flexibility. He has great feel in the slot, playing man, playing zone. He can really do it all. Great tackler, super aggressive. When he got snaps playing at safety from depth, he's really good in that position here. He's a jack of all trades guy. And as a safety, he's in the top 3, in my opinion. As a corner on the outside, he's less impressive. He can do it, and if you need him to, he absolutely can step in and do that for you. 1,000%. He reminds me a little bit of Micah Hyde, actually, just a guy that can play literally everywhere in the secondary. And for Packers fans, Micah Hyde actually used to be an outside corner to start his career. And then eventually moved back to safety, and I think was a lot better there. I don't even think that's really an argument. He's a much better safety. So that's what Barron reminds me of. As a all-out DB, he's in the top 3, 100%. As an outside corner, which is what this list is, he's further back on the list. When he plays outside corner, he was asked to do some weird things at Texas. He was kind of playing cloud corner, so sitting at 5 yards and catching guys, and did a decent job of it. Doesn't really have that wow ability at DB. He's not a guy you want to match one-on-one with another team's best guy outside. He's okay at it, but he's not great. He's a solid zone player. Playing that cloud technique, which he did quite a bit in the tape I watched, which is a very hard technique to play because you're sitting at 5, not pretty much flat-footed, catching and running with guys. He did it pretty well, which is surprising. That's kind of a technique you don't see very often anymore. So that was interesting to see. I really think this guy is a nickel and a safety at the next level rather than being an outside corner. But again, he's a guy that you can ask to do it and he'll do an adequate job for you. So that's why I have him here.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I would rather see him as that nickel safety hybrid. It's funny you bring up Micah Hyde. For me, I look at him and I watch his kind of zone ball skills back there, and I think of a Devin McCourty type, but, you know, I'm a Patriots fan, so I try to relate everything back to the team just so it kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think he's more physical than McCourty was. Like, McCourty was a true, like, center fielder and one of the best you could ask for, right? Especially in Belichick's press cover 1, cover 3-ish scheme, right? Like that, he was so good at doing that. I think Barron has McCourty could play all over the field, obviously, but Barron's more physical in doing it, which opens up more options for you.
I mean, that's where McCourty started, was an outside corner, and then obviously, like you said, in Belichick press system, didn't quite work out that way, and obviously ended up being one of the best safeties of all time.
Yeah. Barron's also a guy that he played a little bit of dime linebacker for Texas. This guy just played all over. And he was really good at doing that too. And I could see that on 2nd and 3rd and longs and passing situations. He could be that guy for you as well. Like, he's so versatile. And again, like, just because I have him 6 at corners, like, this is a 1st round pick, and I could definitely see him going in the top 50. 100%. And this is just a chess piece for you as a defensive coordinator. I don't quite see it with him as an outside corner, but I'm very high on him as a nickel and a safety. So that's why I have him here at 6.
Yep, I'd agree. And I didn't know that he came in as the dime backer, but he's actually a pretty good tackler despite his size.
Very good tackler.
Yeah, it comes downhill pretty well. So I like where you have him in the context of this list. Obviously, if you watched our mock draft video, you had him in the top 15 getting picked. So you're obviously not that low on him. I think, yeah, he comes in as an instant role. At the very least, he's an instant role player for you and could just start anywhere you really want to put him.
Let's move on to number 5 now. So number 5 for me, this is going to be a little bit different. I have this guy way higher on my board than pretty much anyone that I've seen. Number 5 for me is Cobee Bryant out of Kansas, standing at 6 foot, 175 pounds.
Is that because of the name? You can tell me.
It is not because of the name.
The name breeds greatness.
So a couple of the knocks on Bryant, right, are the frame at 175 pounds, right? Like, he's light. He's really light. And he's only 6 feet. Now, I don't know exactly what his wingspan is. It is massive when you watch it on tape. This guy has long arms. He has incredibly fluid hips. And he does get too handsy, right? But this guy can play press. He is super physical on the outside. Again, a lot of technical flaws. He loses his leverage a lot. That's a problem for him. But you'll see, even inside the top 5, that's an issue for a lot of these guys. Loses his leverage a lot. He is really handsy at the top of routes. It doesn't need to be. He does weird things where, like, he's won the route and is right in position, and then will, like, go for an extra jam and push the receiver away from him. And he'll do it constantly. And you're like, Cobee, what are you doing, man? Like, you're there. Just be patient. You have the route covered completely. But he'll do stuff like that. He really affects receivers' routes, but he also has incredible hips. Like, this guy is so fluid. From off coverage, this guy is an absolute ball hawk. It's awesome. He's so good in zone coverages of baiting quarterbacks to make throws to the outside and then jumping. Like, he'll do things where it looks like he's turning and running with a fade. You get a deep out coming, and he'll break off of it, anticipate perfectly, get into the lane and get a pick. And he's explosive after with running the ball back on interceptions. He really reminds me of Marcus Peters. Like, he really reminds me of Marcus Peters. And I think he's kind of a guy where, from a technical perspective, it doesn't look pretty sometimes. It really doesn't. But it works because he's such a freak athlete and he's so instinctual. If he can refine a little bit and get a little more technically sound, I really think this guy can be amazing. And the weird thing with him, he also has nickel value. And when he plays nickel, other than being a little bit too handsy, he's excellent in man coverage in the slot, which is such a rare thing and a hard thing to be good at. He's incredible, and he plays a lot more technically sound in the slot, which is so weird because it's so much harder to be technically sound in the slot. He's really good at playing catch man. He'll catch a receiver at 5 yards, use his long-ass arms to jam the crap out of receivers and impact their route, and seamlessly flips and turns his hips and runs with them. And if you can get the handsy thing out of there, where at the top of routes he's too handsy, he'll grab, he'll push, and make receivers get open. If he can get that out, which should be fairly easy to fix, he has such great value, both in the slot and outside. And I want to say this, I want to be very clear. People comparing him to Emmanuel Forbes, this is not remotely the same player. This is not the same guy. He is 100 times better than Emmanuel Forbes. When you watch Forbes, a lot of his interceptions in college were underthrown balls that he was very opportunistic with, who was just so raw compared to Bryant, who is a pretty raw player. It's not on the same level. This guy, if he can refine his skill set a little bit, is going to be in the league for a long time.
Yeah, I really like his ability to just kind of bait QBs into the throw and make up for it with good ball skills. He, this might sound offensive to cornerbacks, but he reminds me of like a guy who a coach would watch him playing just like football at the schoolyard with his friends, and would make those plays, then everyone's like, dog, you need to go play real football. Because he has the mindset and like the intelligence to be able to do that kind of thing of, okay, I'm going to be a step behind. QB's going to think he's open. Psych, no, he's not. Make an interception, be able to make a big play on that. We did talk about his size. His size is something that does concern me, especially if you're going to ask him to be in the nickel. If you're going to be asking him to be taken on, inevitably, you're going to end up taking on running backs and tight ends and having to tackle them. So I just worry about his longevity, or maybe his fragility. That's a good word. His fragility at that position. But the way he makes plays is great. I do have his arm length here. He measured in at 31.5 inches for his arm length, which puts him in the top 60% percentile, if I remember reading that correctly. So for his size again, that kind of wingspan, not bad at all. I definitely see what you see in him. You are definitely higher on him than most people I've seen them, but we can all.
Well, the other thing with him, despite the frame, Brian is an incredible tackler, and he has no regard for his body at all. He is absolutely fearless. You'll see him break off of routes, chase running backs down, and like he'll lay the boom too. It's pretty impressive at 175 pounds what he was able to do. And if this guy can put some weight onto his frame, he's going to be really good. And he has a lot of weird technical flaws that are so fixable. One of the things when I was writing about him, he will do this weird thing, which is like a high school DB problem that like my guys will have sometimes. They'll line up too far inside or too far outside when they're in press, and that just allows easy releases for receivers. And despite doing that fairly consistently on tape, he still wins. So that's literally just an alignment thing that takes no ability at all, right? This is how I line up properly. Once he can get that, like little tiny things like that, and then he also will do things like holding his leverage in man is like a big thing. Obviously, he loses his leverage all the time, but that's just an eye discipline thing. He looks up a little bit too much, easily fixable. And then he'll also be on his heels and press a little bit when he's playing soft press, which is just he needs to stay on his toes. He has the ability to do it. He just has weird habits like that. Once he kicks those, and again, those are things that you can fix at the high school level, right? Like I'll get DBs at the high school level that have all of these issues, and within a couple years of me really drilling that into them, it's gone. So this guy can absolutely do it. It's easy fixes for him, and I know I'm a lot higher on him than other people. I really think this guy is the next Marcus Peters, just a ball hawk that can do everything for you. Little bit of a risk taker, right? But not quite the Travion Diggs risk taker where you're it's a liability, right? So I
rather
really
get a
see
pick or you get burned.
Yes.
Yeah.
A calculated risk taker is what I would say.
I like that.
Yeah. We'll move on to number 4 now. Azareye'h Thomas out of FSU, 6'2", 198 pounds. Azareye'h Thomas is one of the best press corners coming out of college I've seen in a long time. When you're 6'2" and you have a long wingspan like him, you see guys get too handsy. That's not the reality with him. He's so good already just being in college with getting his hands on receivers, and then he has great hip flexibility. He turns and runs with receivers seamlessly down the field. He'll jam, he'll kick properly, get in their way, give them nothing, just push them right to the sideline, take away their space on vertical routes. If they try to give him like a diamond release on a slant or something like that, he's right there with him. He flips his hips, transitions so seamlessly from press. He's so good at maintaining his leverage. He's a willing physical tackler. You'll see sometimes he lined up to like nub side, like trips nub with like a tight end to his side. So he's kind of having to play off. He rallies and make tackles on running backs, no problem. Yeah, long arms, great hand usage. Really good at, like I said, widening receivers off their track. This guy, I really like his game in press. Now, the thing with him, though, why I don't have him higher up the list, he is a little wonky from off coverage. He's passable and does an okay job at it, but he's not great in zone. He's technically sound in his press fail, but if you're asking him to actually play off at 6 to 7 yards, it starts to look a little weird for him. He's a technician in press and press fail. Once you play him off, things do get a little bit wonky, but that's not why you're drafting this guy. You're drafting this guy to play press man, play like press fail and zone coverage. This guy reminds me of L'Jarius Sneed quite a bit. And when Sneed came out, he was really good from press and he needed work in off coverage. If Azareye'h Thomas can do that and be like L'Jarius Sneed and get better at that, this guy's a Pro Bowler, in my opinion, in a couple years. I'm really high on him. He has the physical size. He has the hips. He just has everything you want in a press corner. And if he can work on playing off, this guy is just a perennial all-pro, top 10, 15 corner for you in the future.
High praise indeed. And one thing from the Belichick at me, he adds special teams value as well, having played on punt team for most of his career, including his final season there. All right. Moving on to your next. What we got?
Now, number 3, we got Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame. So people talk a lot about the hip, right? Can he come back from that and be the same player that he was before? It has him really falling down draft boards way too much, in my opinion. If you can get a physical on him and you can ensure that this guy is going to be just fine, he's a top 3 corner in this class. He can do everything for you. He can play press. He's more of a soft press guy because he doesn't have long arms, but his hips are so fluid. He's so patient. In off coverage, he's a ball hawk. He's an absolute ball hawk. He is so good at holding his leverages in both off and press. Smooth back pedal, excellent eye control, super fluid hips. Now, I know that hip injury might affect that, but if you can recover from that, he was such a great watch at Notre Dame. 9 career interceptions, including 6 picks in his freshman year. And then I think after that, teams kind of discovered maybe we shouldn't throw at this guy all game. Maybe this is a bad idea. He really reminds me of AJ Boye. Really reminds me of Boye in the fact that he's really good in press, but with the soft press rather than collisioning receivers at the line. Just mirroring receivers, playing basketball defense on them. Can play off, can do literally everything for you. And I know Boye's kind of top of his career lasted about 3 years, and then he was kind of done, right? I think with Morrison, you can see him getting to that point and the height of Boye's career, and you just hope it lasts longer if that hip's okay.
Yeah, I really like that he can play literally anything. Like you said, you can kind of line him up everywhere. I love his football dog mentality. He rarely bites on double moves. He makes big plays on the ball, like you mentioned earlier. 6 interceptions that one year you were telling me? Like, that's crazy production. The big thing that I kind of saw with him is that he likes to look for these big plays. And we can kind of see him leave his zone, trying to bait QBs, make that big play, make that splash play, and then ends up kind of working against him, right? What would you say to that?
I would agree a little bit. I think it works for him more times than not. There was one play this past season, and I can't remember who they were playing. I think it might have been Stanford. I can't remember exactly. But there's this play where the Stanford runs a play action pass. The quarterback rolls all the way to the right of the field. Morrison is lined up to the offense's left to the field. And he's playing, I think he was playing man. I think it was from off. Regardless, the receiver runs a deep over route like you do on a typical boot pass, right, from X, right? Just deep over route all the way across the field. Morrison is so smart, and he has that ball hawk in him, right? He kind of sloughs off the receiver, makes it look like he's open. Stanford's quarterback throws it all the way to the right sideline, and Morrison knows he has time to catch up. He just explodes to the sideline, undercuts the route, picks it off. It got called back, I think, because a different player on Notre Dame had a defensive holding call. And it's just this unbelievable interception. Just crazy. You see the ball skills, you see how smart he is as a defensive back, and that was just an incredible play. And even if he didn't have that ability, I think this guy's an unbelievable corner. You add in that ball hawk ability and the versatility. I just really think if this guy's hip isn't a problem for him, he's just a can't miss. He can play anywhere for you. He's a technician. I just can't speak highly enough of this guy. And I have no idea why he's falling down draft boards other than the hip problem.
And he hasn't had like an injury history. This has been his only major injury, but I guess if you are worried about having him for his rookie camp, it can drop you that much. We'll move on to your number 2, I believe.
Number 2, here's another absolute technician, great athlete. I think he's the number 2 corner on most people's list, Will Johnson. His processing skills in zone and match coverage are unbelievable. Like, it's just second to none. He sees route distribution from other teams, processes it so quickly. He'll see like the number 1 receiver run a 5-yard in cut or a hitch, and he'll instantly, like, he just sees it so quickly, he'll instantly get to number 2 on like a smash concept or a seam for that matter too, right? And it's incredible how fast he processes things. He has such a smooth pedal. He has an elite break on the ball. He has a little bit of ball hawk in him too. Flip to press coverage. Again, he is 6'2", but he doesn't have like a really long wingspan. I think it's just kind of a normal one. More of like a feet guy in press. He can hit and run at the line of scrimmage, but he's more of a feet guy in press. He is really good in press, understands leverage, closing speed is incredible, just such a technician. My only weakness for him, with all the tape I watched 5 games on him, plus I watched him a little bit last year while Michigan made their run and won the national championship, is the injury he had last season, cutting his year short. Like, that's really the only flaw I see with him. Some people talked about before he got hurt, yeah, he got beat a couple times. This wasn't a good Michigan team. I think he was trying to make plays for them, and he got beat a couple times. I have no worries with this guy. He reminds me a lot of Darius Slay. Reminds me a lot of big play Slay, actually, especially how good he is from off coverage and processing things in zone and zone match and able to play press if you need him to. This guy's an all-pro. He's so sound. He is he's a technician, but he's also a plus athlete. And that's so rare coming out of college. Usually you see these guys that are either or. He's both. He's going to be ready to go day one, barring injury. And he's a can't miss. I don't see a lot of weaknesses here with him, if any, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, and we'll get to the next one coming up real quick. His dad was actually was a star at Michigan as well, played corner. So having that elite kind of bloodline really, really does help, especially when it comes to that football IQ, being a technician. He's obviously been coached up for a long time by the best, and it shows. I think in a draft where he didn't have your number 1 as a number 1, he would easily be that number 1. And we don't typically see corners go top 10, at least unless they are kind of that elite Darrelle Revis type kind of player. But if there's anyone who could do it this year besides number 1, it would be Will Johnson. I agree. There's so little to nitpick in his game, and that's what it is, right? It's nitpicking. He didn't measure much at the combine, right? And I think things like his wingspan or whatever would hurt him, so that's why you pull out, right? You're like, okay, I don't really want that stuff to get recorded. But he passes the eye test with flying colors. I really like Will Johnson as well.
Yeah, and I find a hard time accepting the fact that he's sliding down draft boards because he's not testing at the combine because of his injury. He doesn't need to test. Watch his film. He's so good in every regard against top competition, not this year, but the year before when Michigan made their national championship run. He was unbelievable for them.
in every aspect. He was playing off man too a little bit, which is so hard to play. And as a younger player, he was an absolute technician in it. It was teach tape. It was unbelievable. It's something that doesn't get run too much anymore because it's so hard for corners to consistently play that. It's kind of a lost art. If teams are going to play man, they're usually in press, especially in the NFL. He can do that too. He can literally do everything for you. He's a plus athlete. I don't care that he's not testing at the combine. I don't understand it. I think if he played his whole season this year, I think he is a top 10 pick, unquestionably. I would be shocked if he gets out of the top 15. I'd just be shocked. And I think it would be a mistake for teams not to pick him. But anyway, let's go to number one. My number
Best
one
receiver on the board. Cornerback.
Yeah. The unprecedented just physical freak that is Travis Hunter. He's my number.
Unprecedented since the 1940s.
Pretty much. Again, freak of nature, playing both sides of the ball at an incredible elite level in college football. I love this guy as a corner. The thing with him is he's not... Okay, let's take the fact that he's a physical freak as well. I think the thing he doesn't get credit for a lot, he is such a smart DB. In zone coverages, his route recognition is just as good as Will Johnson's. I think it's a little bit better in underneath zones. He's so good at baiting quarterbacks into making dumb throws. He's a willing tackler despite his slight frame. Again, like generational athleticism. He has all the physical tools, fluid hips, elite makeup speed, and explosion out of his breaks. When I say he explodes out of his breaks, that's kind of an overused term in the scouting process when it comes to DB. This guy like shoots out of a cannon off of his break, right? Like it's just second to none. The only weaknesses with him is like he's a little technically unsound, right? And it's because I think personally, because he has to play receiver too, he's not getting all the technical reps at DB that he needs to, but it doesn't matter. He's just some of the stuff he does is insane. It's hard to describe a couple plays that I saw with him, but I'll try my best. So he's in press man. He's inside leverage. The receiver releases outside. Travis works too far over top and is now outside leverage on him instead of being inside. So he loses his leverage. The receiver makes another move. Travis tries to undercut it, is now inside leverage again. So he's lost his leverage twice on the same rep and then still breaks up the pass on a well-run route. And you're like, no one else can do this. This is just insane. How is he doing this? The second he hones into those little things, I said his player comp was Deion Sanders, which people might be like, oh, that's lazy. He was his head coach. But it is. He's just a physical freak that does things that are unprecedented. He has the return ability as well. This guy can legitimately play receiver. And we saw, like, Deion did that back in the day a little bit. He'd have his packages that he would go into and play, especially when he was with Dallas, I think. I remember seeing a little bit of that. Again, a little bit before my time. And then the ability with the ball after getting interceptions. Like I said in my article here, this is a guy that you are going to see high stepping down the sideline if he chooses to on pick sixes for years to come. The ceiling is so high for this guy in whatever he plays, but I want to see him play DB because I think he's going to be an all-time great.
And I think that's just the only part where we disagree, is I don't want to see him play all that much corner as a potential Patriot down the road. Yeah, I hate when people say things like lazy takes or lazy comps, but why be a contrarian and try and pull something smart out of your butt when it ends up horseshoe theory, right? You try to sound too smart and then you just end up sounding dumb. Why wouldn't Deion Sanders be his comp, having coached him for his entire college career? It just makes sense. And with the kind of athlete, ballhawk, talent, personality that Deion was, I think Travis Hunter follows in those footsteps very, very well. One thing that I brought up with my receivers article and our receivers pod was that one game where Alec Ayomanor torched him for 200 yards. Yep. What is your defense of him?
That would kind of be, other than the technique thing, the other weakness for him, right? Is that against stronger receivers, he still struggles a little bit with them. Now, this season, I would argue he's really grown into his frame a lot, gotten bigger and stronger, and it's less of a problem, still a little bit, but that's just going to come with time and getting stronger with him because he does have a bit of a slight frame. In that game, I hate to be the guy that's like, oh, he was tired. He looked pretty exhausted. He really did. There were plays where he's standing upright. He's not down in his pedal, even when he's in press. He just looked tired. It's so hard to play both of those positions all game. And Azareye'h Manor, as we talked about in the receiver pod, he's a pretty damn good player. So that is something to worry about, obviously, but I don't think it's going to affect him long term, especially if he really hones into just playing corner. And there's some technical things in press too. Like, he opens his hips way too early. He'll also kick flat. So in press, playing soft, because he's not a jam at the line guy as well, because he doesn't have that log reach and he's not that strong, right? He's more of a soft press guy. He'll kick super flat. So you want to kind of kick at a 45-degree angle to get to where the receiver is, right? He'll kick flat kind of at a 90, and then he'll have to turn, just make an awkward turn, and he'll still catch up, but he's not making his life easy, right? So little things like that. If you watch that Azareye'h Manor game, things like that really happened a lot. And because Azareye'h Manor was so good and Travis really struggled with his physicality, it showed up big time in that game. I'm not worried. I'm really not.
The thing is, too, that we'll play into Hunter's strengths, assuming he sticks full-time at corner, as this thought exercise is for. He's not going to be asked to cover kind of the big X receivers, the T. Higgins, the Mike Evans, or whatever the heck you want to say. Because X is, I think this is a trend, and you can kind of disagree with me if you want, or if you see other reason. X's aren't what they used to be anymore. They're not the most domineering player on the field. The days of the Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson aren't really the thing anymore. They're not really the meta. We're seeing the Z receivers, kind of the smaller chest piece, move around type receivers, end up being the number ones, the alphas, the Batmans, whatever you want to call it. And which that plays much more into Travis Hunter's wheelhouse of coverage. Like, if he's going to be covering the Jamar Chases, Jalen Waddles, Tyreek Hills, etc., that's more of his game, and he'll stick just fine. And then you can get kind of your taller, more press, Azareye'h Thomas type kind of cornerbacks to play that receiver, the X receiver.
Nope. Spoken almost like a DC there, Dave. That was good.
I was a head coach once.
You can also go, if that's an issue with him for a couple of years, right? You can also just do the classic thing where if you have that big physical guy, do the Belichick thing where you put your second best corner on him, double him with a safety on all downs, and then Travis is good on a number 2 alone all game, and he's probably not going to have a reception, right?
This one guy's taking away your one best guy. Yeah.
You can't be perfect. Travis Hunter isn't perfect, but he's almost as close as you can be when it comes to NFL prospects, right? This guy is just, I really see him, whatever he plays, just being this. He's a generational guy. I don't think we've seen someone with this skill set for so long. What's the last guy that really did this at this high of a level? Maybe Charles Woodson back in the day. I was
thinking, yeah.
And then before him, Deion Sanders, right? So once he hones in technically, whether it be a DB or receiver, he's just going to be such a star. And I think this is a guy that you're going to be talking about for a long time as an all-time great. All right, well, we'll wrap it up now, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That will help us greatly. And thank you for tuning in again, and we'll see you next time on the Film Grinders podcast. Thanks for stopping by, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Film Grinders podcast. Make sure to follow us on all your favorite podcast platforms. From me and the guys, thank you. We'll see you next time.